For USCFootball.com, Connor Morrissette and Chris Trevino were here on campus after USC's Tuesday practice of Purdue week. This Purdue game, Chris, USC's first on the road this year. The Trojans are, of course, 2-0, coming off a big win over Georgia Southern. How's it going?
Pretty good, and just to comment on the vibes, it felt really high energy at practice, or at least, them coming out, good spirits all around, excited. I think they're ready to go out there and play a Big Ten opponent and play a Big Ten opponent on the road and kind of put the 2024 troubles behind them.
I definitely agree with that. We'll get into everything that goes into this road game, but let's start with some of our tunnel observations. Brian Jackson, who missed last week's game, the running back, he came out in full pads and looks like he is healthy, but there are some guys who sometimes come back and then they're not fully healthy, so we don't know for sure if he'll play, but it's a step in the right direction. Same with R.J. Sermons. He didn't suit up last week, and he was out there today. The one guy who was not out there today that was a bit of a surprise, Zacharias Williams, who played against Georgia Southern, had the long catch and was tackled right before scoring a touchdown. He did not come out in pads today. Any observations, stuff about tunnel things that you want to talk about?
Just to throw in there, Prince Strawn was suited up in full pads. Obviously, he was someone that we saw in pads last week in practice, but did not suit up for the game on Saturday. Maybe that's another situation with Brian Jackson. We see him come back. Maybe he doesn't suit up, but they would love to have their bigger back for a Big Ten opponent. But we'll see what happens with Prince Strawn after missing last week. They could use him with Zacharias Williams a little banged up.
Your scout team observations, we saved the majority of those for your ghost notes. If you're not a subscriber at USCFootball.com, you should be, because then you can get all of those insights and Chris's ghost notes, as well as all the other VIP content that we do. Did anything stand out to you today, Chris, with some of the scout team stuff you saw?
Pretty much the familiar faces that we've seen on scout team the last couple of weeks are the same. I will note that freshman safety Kendarius Reddick, a.k.a. D. Reddick, was not in a scout team jersey. He was in his normal number 41, which is an odd number for a safety, but he was out there in 41, and he's someone that made his debut on Saturday, a little special teams, and we know that Doug Belk is a huge fan of him, and he's been banged up since he arrived. He's been in the no-contact jersey, but last week, fully out of it, and it looks like he's trending towards getting some more playing time if he's not in the scout, but we'll see what happens on Wednesday if he's in a scout jersey. Sometimes a guy will come out in a scout jersey on Tuesday, but then be in their normal jersey on Wednesday, or vice versa. So this is why we kind of track them through these first 2 days. So we'll see what D-Rec is wearing on Wednesday, but he was out there in his normal jersey on Tuesday, which I thought was a little surprising.
He's someone who I think we both thought could potentially carve out a role on defense as a true freshman, just because we heard so many good things about him from Doug Belk. So he is getting healthier now, looks to be fully healthy or trending that way. I don't know if he was on a pitch count like Chasen Johnson was last week, but things are clearly getting better. He's playing, and we'll see if he does end up playing a little bit more on defense, because USC's down a couple nickels right now. Alex Graham also didn't participate today. That's been a continuing theme. He's been out for a couple weeks now, so we'll see if he's able to come back, but he wasn't out there today.
Can I add two more things very quickly? Micah Lemon, I know people maybe got a little scared. I'm not saying banged up, but he was checking his ankle on the sideline. He did not come out with any extra tape or anything on his ankle, and he looked completely fine coming out to practice. And Jakeem Stewart, I noticed his foot was wrapped up with some extra tape. I'm not sure if it was the same foot that he was injured. I assume so. I have to go back and check the photos, but it was his right foot this time around. So yeah, just a couple of notes, just looking at ankles today, Connor.
And with Eric Gentry, I watched the game back on TV this morning from Saturday. He didn't leave hurt or anything, but he got banged up a couple times, and he was out there today. Looks all good with him, so that's good because we know how important he is to that defense. So after practice, we heard from Lincoln Riley today, and he talked about some of the road game week tweaks for his team. They're leaving Friday to go to Purdue. I think that's pretty standard from what we saw last season, but the plane that they're going to take is bigger to accommodate some of the bigger bodies on the team. They're focusing more on sleep and nutrition to get the best possible recovery for these players. That's been a big emphasis, especially the sleep part of it. They've moved up some different meal times this week. They're certainly putting a lot into it. Lincoln Riley on Monday said that he felt like last year when USC went 0-4 in true road games outside of LA in the Big Ten, he felt like that was a learning experience, and now they're taking what they learned and they're implementing it for this week. What's standing out to you, Chris, about that?
This is obviously something that he's been touting a lot this offseason, the changes that they're making in travel that they hope are going to pay dividends this season. But we haven't really actually heard any specifics, so it was actually nice to hear give us some insight into some of those things, including a bigger plane, got that leg room for those big guys out there. Some of those guys were happy about that, and just moving up the time they go to sleep and time they eat and moving all these things around. He said it was like a giant puzzle because you only have so much time in a day, so you got to figure out how things fit together. If you move one thing, you got to move this. So just figuring out that puzzle, and we're gonna see how much better they feel. Actually we can ask them about it, but until we get one game out of the way, we can't really ask them how does it feel, the different travel and changes and the new plane and going to bed early and all that. But sleep is one of the things that did stick out to me. It seems like there's a bigger emphasis on getting more sleep. As 8 hours is what you should be getting. Fortunately, we don't get that much during this season, and we're not going to get much in that Michigan State game. Just a little gripe there early. But, Jada Maeva was talking about, how important sleep has been coming to him. He's got a lavender diffuser. One of the sports science guys made a presentation, and lavender diffuser was kind of the thing that said this can help go to sleep, and he's been using it, I believe he said 2 days now, and it's actually helped. So they're going to be sleeping more, and hopefully they're sleeping more on that plane, a bigger plane.
Makes a big difference, so that was something that was interesting, just all about the sleep. And Trumaine Carroll, he always asked the players, how are you going to recover? What's the best possible way that you can recover? And he's quizzing the guys. It just seems like he has his I's dotted and his T's crossed, which is really all that USC was looking for from its strength coach. They wanted a more buttoned-up operation, and it sounds like they're getting it. Lincoln Riley said that Josh Henson being on the Purdue staff as their offensive coordinator and play caller doesn't affect the matchup a whole lot. He said, we're going to do what we do, they're going to do what they do, and it's about whoever executes better. Henson, of course, spent the last 3 years as USC's offensive line coach and offensive coordinator under Riley. Of course, he didn't call the plays, but he was a big part of that offensive staff. There's a lot of carryover this week, Chris, where Jaden Maeva is playing against his former coach and Barry Odom. He's also going up against his former UNLV defensive coordinator, Mike Shear. So Maeva's very familiar with this coaching staff. Lincoln Riley has some connections to this coaching staff. As a football fan, does that play any role in how you go about, are you more nervous because USC is going up against the guy who used to be on the staff? Does that bother you? Is that, when your Cowboys go up against someone who they know, does that scare you?
I feel like it always does scare me a little bit. Like, this person has intimate knowledge of the playbook. They know how we run things. They know how, I'm just speaking as if I was the head coach, they know how I like to run things, how I run this play, how I line up in this play. So I think that's always got to be in the back of your mind when you're going against someone who has that sort of inside knowledge into your offense, in this case with Josh Henson. So, but I don't think it has to be something that overtakes you paranoia wise. You can't be worrying about what does he know or what insight is he giving them. I think you have to be aware of some of it and kind of plan for a little bit. Maybe you change little things here and there to add a wrinkle in, and this isn't the exact same that we had when he was here. So I think stuff like that, but I don't think it would be more so something that's going to overtake my whole game planning, knowing that someone on the other side has knowledge of what we do. But Lincoln Riley also said it goes both ways. We have knowledge. He's been in this offense. If you watch their offense, it kind of feels a little similar to what Lincoln Riley's doing. I've seen people on the board have been referring to as the Temu version of Lincoln Riley's offense. I don't know about that, but yeah, you do see some of the similar stuff. So yeah, it works both ways. You do some of the stuff we do. I know how to do that, and Dan Lynn knows how to shut down a Lincoln Riley-based offense, as you know, what we saw in the UCLA game a couple years ago. So he has advantages there as well. So it goes both ways, probably more so to Purdue just because Josh Henson had more time in that offense. But, he's not running a run-to-one offense of Lincoln Riley. So I think it's something to be aware of, but overall, I don't think you can worry about it too much.
USC is still a 20.5-point favorite the last time I checked, and this is on the road, so just a massive favorite. It, of course, will play a role, as you said, but Riley, like he said, they got to stop us, we got to stop them. So it's all about execution. Lincoln Riley today said the offensive line isn't finalized. Micah Benuelos, who started at right guard and did a really solid job. Riley said, not in as many words like he's still competing, but it sounds like they don't exactly know what the best five is. I bet they do, but he was just trying to keep everyone on board for as long as possible. Killian O'Connor starting at center, but John Ray Reed, Lincoln Riley's mentioned his name a couple times as someone who they can still rely on. Alani Noah and Micah Benuelos at the guard spots, they can be relied on. I kind of feel like they're going to keep going with what they did against Georgia Southern. Did Riley's comments make you feel any particular way about the future of the offensive line?
Not particularly. I do feel they're going to go with Micah this
me too.
week at the guard spot, the other guard spot. We'll see what happens with Alani Noah. Obviously, it builds better depth. You have more depth now at that guard spot with Alani Noah there. Obviously, you're kind of corralling between the two, but I fully expect Benuelos to get the start going into this. Do we see more rotation? I don't think so. It was kind of a weird inside these walls, the comment. You know, he didn't rotate in at all. Alani Noah played on special teams, played on the backup, so he's not injured. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I fully expect Micah to be the guy. And I did notice the offensive line looked a little bit better than they did compared to week one. I'm not putting that all on Alani Noah. Obviously, you have more tape. It was the first game. You can correct more stuff. So that is a natural thing to take a step forward after the week one. But I did think they looked a little bit better than they did against Missouri State.
So did I. I'm with you on that. Speaking of Micah Benuelos, he makes his first career start. He spoke today. I'll let you break it down, Chris. You asked him about the dance move that he's known for. And if you're a USC fan, you might not know that he's known for this dance move yet, but it's coming. Fill us in.
Yeah, obviously we want to talk to Micah. You know, got a first career start, which is big for him. Got a game ball after, and you know, Micah was very humble about it. He was like, I was really shocked about getting the game ball. You know, I thought game balls usually go to, you know, the skill guys score on the touchdown. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, Micah, the offensive line, they don't happen without, those touchdowns don't happen without you guys. That's what I was thinking. But got to show the big guys some love, the big uglies some love. And obviously in the clip, you can see him celebrate with his little dance. And I caught the dance in week one against Missouri State after the King Miller run. He my camera's like, what is this guy doing? So he said it started. I guess I should do it, right? You know, because I asked him, like, because I wanted to ask him about it. I said, you know, I was just curious about what this dance is you do. I've seen it a couple times on the touchdown, and you did it when you got the game ball. So what's the story behind that? He was like, oh, dance, you mean this dance? And then he just hit me with it, like gyrating. I should go back a little bit more. Yeah, kind of like that. He hit me with it. I got stunned on with that. But yeah, he said it's something that started in fall camp and practices after they would break big runs. He just started doing it and gets the guys going. And you know, he hinted at some other dances with different offensive linemen that are soon to come. But this is his move. He wants to do one with all the offensive linemen. Worried about getting a flag, though, so it might be quick, might be on the sideline. But, yeah, it's definitely something that it's a little culture building around the offensive line. I asked him what it was called. Is it called, like, the Micah or the Benuelos or anything like that? I believe he said the ooze, but he might have said the oos. Could be.
I think the oos.
Yeah, the oos. But it did sound like he said Z in there, so I have to go back and listen. But I'm going to side on the side of caution that it's the oos. So the oos dance. So I guess that's what we can call it. I'm going to call it the Micah, though, even though the official designation might be the oos moving forward. But, yeah, that was a great all-time USC interview moment, just like him kind of just pulling me in a little bit, like, oh, the dance. What dance? Oh, you mean this dance? He just, like, hit me with it. So, yeah, I put that on Twitter, so you can check that out.
A tremendous moment. The name of the dance still under further review. We'll get back to you if it is a Z in there, if there is one. So that was an awesome moment. Micah Benuelos has a new fan, I think, in all of us after that. No one's ever done a dance move before in one of those scrums, so tip of the cap to him, and we both agree. Think he'll keep starting. And I agree, Chris, the camaraderie on that offensive line just feels really good. Of course, there's going to be a couple of guys who have some hurt feelings who aren't starting, and we'll see if that plays a role in the future. But right now, I asked Justin Tawanu what's it like to play next to Micah, and he said, I love playing next to Micah. Like, his eyes lit up, and that to me kind of signaled, like, I think he's here to stay, Micah, at that right guard. So Justin talked, like I said, he is really happy that he's locked down the starting right tackle spot. He talked about how he laid that huge block on the swing pass to Eli Sanders in the first half against Georgia Southern, talked a little crap, and then continued to run down the field. He tripped because his knee braces got caught on each other. That's just something that happens with these big offensive linemen. They hate wearing the knee braces, but they need to for the added protection. And sometimes you trip. Justin said that they had a big laugh about it during the team film meeting that they all watched, and he was really happy to bring the energy and provide a laugh. He's another pretty funny guy. Micah and Justin on the right side of that offensive line, those guys are pretty funny. I recommend watching that video as well. But Justin, I asked him, how is the offensive line succeeding at such a high level right now when there's only one returning starter? And he said it's because we're all so tight-knit, we're all so close. That's been such a familiar theme with this team. I hate to say like, oh, they're so close, they're going to go on this big run, but it does feel different to me than it did last year. I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah, they seem really close, and I think Zach Hansen has a lot to do with that as well. I mean, not saying anything bad about Josh Henson, obviously that they're going against their former coach over there on the other side with Josh Henson, the former offensive line coach, but Zach Hansen has done a lot of bonding with this group over the last several months since taking over the offensive line group. New coaching approach that seems to be, taking hold of these guys, and they're first 2 weeks, maybe that week one was a little not as impressive, but week two, I definitely think they took a step forward. I'm excited to see what it looks like in Purdue. First road game, a lot of these guys playing together, obviously, as a unit in the road environment. I know some of them played in the Las Vegas Bowl, but it's going to be a little different here playing in a true road environment, not a neutral site. So excited to see what it looks like and if they can take another step forward in Big Ten play.
There's a reason USC is favored by so many points against Purdue. I watched their game against Southern Illinois today as well. They're a team that if USC makes mistakes is capable of pouncing and keeping the game close, but if USC executes at the level on offense, especially the way we've seen these first couple weeks, they are certainly capable of covering that spread. And we all know the road bugaboos from last year are still over the fan base a little bit. People want to have a reason to believe USC can win on the road. I do think they'll get it done. We can get into more of the matchup later in the week, but I wasn't really blown away watching Purdue today. Let's just say that. The last thing, Chris, you heard from Wayman Jordan today, the running back. Takeaways from what he had to say.
Obviously, he didn't speak after Saturday's win, had a big game, that big touchdown run, but also had a fumble. His first turnover, the first turnover of the season for USC early in the game, let Georgia Southern.
Second turnover. Longstreet had the fumble.
You're correct. Sorry, you're for the first team offense.
Yes.
I should correct myself. Thank you, Connor. Georgia Southern was able to get a lead in that game, kind of take the wind out of the stadium, the Coliseum. So we asked him about it. What did it feel like? To have that moment, but more importantly, he didn't get benched after that. They put him right back in on the next series, and I believe they gave him 5 to 6 touches after that. And I asked him, what did that mean to you to not be, taken out, and they go back to you with some carries? He was like, that just gave me so much more confidence. Like, them to have that belief in me, it really, really boosted me up after, a low moment going out there to start the game. And he had a fantastic game, over 160 yards, I believe, with that big touchdown run. Another fantastic game for him. I know we only got to see a little teaser of him in week one, but a lot more now in week two with Georgia Southern and Big Ten play. And I guess I'll kind of end on this note, just, asking him about going into Big Ten play. This is a guy who played at the JUCO level, and he was really honest. He was like, yeah, I'm just really excited about going to Big Ten play, but I'm just really excited to fly to a game. And you have to remember, supremely talented guy, but he played at the JUCO level, and if you don't know, JUCO level, you're not flying anywhere. You're taking these long bus rides. He said the longest bus ride they had to take playing at that level was an 8-hour bus ride. And he's like, he said it was super tough. He hated it. If you're cramped in there, you don't got no leg room, and if you need to stretch out, they would just lie down in the aisle of the buses. It's a totally different level, going from JUCO to going for these big Division I programs. You're getting these nice flights, private, or private's not chartered, excuse me, chartered flights out of there, and Lincoln's talking about having more leg room on this thing. So it might seem like a small thing, but for a guy who's coming from that level, just a lot of humility and a lot of excitement just to experience that for the first time and travel big time football, go play a Big Ten game and get to fly and do that. So I thought that was, he's such a humble guy, when we talked to him. So I thought it was just really interesting to hear, his perspective on that and coming from that level and getting excited to fly on a plane and go play some football.
He's a guy who certainly won't take anything for granted and is quickly becoming a fan favorite, which is so great to see. This will wrap up instant analysis for USC's Tuesday practice of Purdue week. He's Chris Trevino. I'm Connor Morrissette. Chris, can you give us the dance one more time?
You got to do it with me? You're not going to do it with me?
See you next time.